What's up, everybody? It's your boy the Noob. It's that time again. It is time to look at the upcoming animes and see what I will be watching during spring of 2019. So after going through the list, I was not able to come up with a top 10 of what I wanted to see during the next season. So during this video, I'm going to do the top 8 that I found that I want to watch, 1 that's on the fence, and 3 that I'm throwing into a dumpster fire. So let's get to it. Now, in this list of what I want to watch, it is a mix of both OVAs and regular season animes. So I'm not going to put this in any particular order except for the last of what I want to watch. That is going to be one that I am just so happy to see that is getting an anime. But first, let's start with those dumpster fires. The first one that is going to be thrown in a dumpster fire for me is called Nanade Koko ni Sensei Gal. It is an ecchi comedy anime. Now, the problem is I think I've read the manga on this and I did not like it. It was just stupid ecchi. There's good ecchi, and then there's hentai ecchi, and then there's trying too hard. And this was in the category of trying too hard in my opinion. Basically, the synopsis is a 17-year-old boy who's an average teenager always seems to find himself in perverted situations with his teacher, and it's just their interactions. Sometimes this story works, but for me, I did not enjoy this manga, so now that I see that it's an anime, I'm not going to be watching this, and like I said, dumpster fire. The next one is called Ayu-chan Cannot Study. Now, I had heard about this from a YouTuber called Synapse and how she hated it, so I decided that I had to go look at this because she actually likes a lot of the ecchi stuff, but when she said she could not understand why this became an anime, I really had to look it up, and I did. And after reading several mangas of this, I can see the same reason why she said so. The whole point of this series is basically Ayo-chan has grown up with her father who writes erotic novels, and so her growing up has always had ecchi influences in everything she does, so she can't study when she wants to go to a normal school because everything becomes erotic for her. Now, you would think this would be good, but I read a couple of the mangas and it is in the stupid erotic. It is just stupid ecchi. It is like boring. I didn't like it. I actually 3 or 4, I can't remember how many I read, but basically by the time I stopped, I was like, why did I force myself? So this one I would not suggest. Now the other one is not ecchi, but it's a comedy, romance, and school is the taglines underneath it. It is called Nobunaga Sensei no Osanazuma. The whole premise of this anime, from what I've read, is basically a teenager boy in school known as Nobunaga always has dreams of a beautiful girl loving him. And then a beautiful girl appears to him, and she apparently has traveled time. And she is the 14-year-old wife of the original Nobunaga, the one from history. And she confuses him for her husband, and her whole purpose apparently in this is trying to get him to impregnate her. No, that's dumb. That's like from the last season where they were in another world and the main character's whole purpose was to knock up characters. No, when it comes to trying to work your whole story around trying to get impregnated, no, that sounds dumb as hell. That is going in my dumpster fire pile. Alright, so now there is one I said that I have not decided on. The synopsis sounds interesting, but since I have never read this and I know nothing about it, I'm not 100% sure. So let me tell you a little about it. Kenja no Maga is basically an isekai where a young man dies, and when he's reincarnated in another world, he's reincarnated as a baby. A hero sage finds his baby and adopts him. And while this kid grows up, he absorbs powers from the mage, learns from him, yada yada yada. But when he becomes 15, the mage came to realize something. He didn't teach this kid self-control. So you're having an uber-powered character who doesn't understand that going full power isn't really the best thing. this sounds like it could be good, but I have seen so many isekais that have just been cannon fodder. So I'm going to have to at least see the first and maybe second episode before I decide if I'm going to fully commit to this one. So this one's on the fence, just till I know a bit about it. Alright, now for the 8 that I want to see. Now, I'm going to start from the OVAs, or what they're considering OVAs, but they have a lot of episodes, so I'm not sure why. But let's start off with this one. Ultraman. Ultraman is getting another adaptation this year. I think it's a good thing, especially since last year we had SSSS Gridman, which really brought back the popularity of Ultraman. I know a lot of people who had no clue what Ultraman was, and once they saw this, they were actually interested and started going back. So I think this is a good series that's probably going to do well. It is right now set to have 13 episodes, which is your basic one-season anime. I don't know how long each episode's going to be, but it's Ultraman. I mean, that's nostalgic as fuck, so I'm definitely going to be watching it. Now, the next one actually is something that you'll be able to see on Netflix. This is actually an ending, and it's only got 3 episodes, which kind of bums me, but I actually enjoyed this series surprisingly, because the animation was that 3D CG animation, which a lot of people don't like, especially after like Berserk, but the story of this caught my attention. The anime is called High Score Girl Extra Stage. The whole story of this is your main character is a boy, and I think he's in middle school when it first starts out, who loves to go to the arcade. And now this is back like in the 90s and all that, so the game he's playing, I believe, is Street Fighter 2. He is really good, he wins a lot, but then he meets this girl who is a classmate of his. She has that monotone face. She actually almost never speaks in this series. In fact, I can't even remember if she did. I know she had a lot of grunts and all that, but she doesn't even smile a lot. She beats him at this game, and then their rivalry kicks in. He constantly wants to beat her, but he can't. She finds him entertaining to play against and kind of becomes a friend with him, so she's always trying to be around him. It is a very interesting story, a very romantic story in my opinion, because even though there was interaction between these two, there was a gap of time when they weren't around, but I loved it. And I actually had forgotten while watching it about the animation that they use, which a lot of people were turned off about, so they didn't even give this a chance. But if you haven't given this a chance, go back to Netflix, go watch it. Yes, the animation's weird, but once you get past that, I guarantee you'll enjoy it. Especially, if nothing else, for the nostalgia of arcade games, which they actually talk about real games. It's not just Fako games, they actually do real games. Now the next one is a manga series I have been reading for the longest time. I started reading it after I watched the anime, and the anime was so kind of perverted that I was surprised it actually did get an anime. It is called Setekoya Yuka Ina Domo. It is based off one of those 4-panel mangas where each, I guess, joke is set in 4 panels on top of each other. And the whole story is your main character is this guy who transfers into this school that just became co-ed. He went into the school because it was closer for him. He gets involved with the student council and eventually becomes to join them. But a lot of the interactions he has, not only with this student council, but other characters that are around this, are funny perverted is the best way to put it. You got the student president, who she is always trying to, I don't know how to say it, but do sexual jokes, but not meaning to. You've got the, I think she's the secretary of money. I can't remember, the rich girl, and she is very free. She tends to not wear panties or underwear, and she has a maid that is lustful for her. It's just very cool. The main male and the very short student council member are kind of like the straight men in the jokes. So it is actually quite funny. I'm surprised it got an anime. I'm surprised it got, like, I think 2 seasons, a movie, and I think already another OVA. So it is funny to watch, and I'm definitely excited to see this one. Now the next one I actually have to catch up on because I had forgotten about its second season is Strike the Blood. They're actually coming out with a third season. They're calling it OVAs. I don't know why. It's only going to have what it looks like 10 episodes, which is fine. The story revolves around your main character who is... I don't remember if he's like a healed vampire or a partial vampire, but basically he is still kind of a vampire, but he can walk in the daylight, stuff like that, yada yada. He gets intertwined in this whole power system, especially when this one girl who wields a spear comes to, I think at first attack him, but then eventually starts defending him. And the cool thing about him is he gains these powers depending on whose blood he sucks. Yes, there is kind of a harem he gets because I think every person's whose blood he sucks is a girl, but it's actually quite interesting. The battles are what I enjoyed about this. Yes, there's some ecchi parts in this, but the battles that actually happened with some of the summons that he gets from drinking the blood were quite entertaining. Alright, now we're on to the regular season animes. We've got a couple second seasons coming out and some new ones. So I'm going to start with actually one that's a remake of an old classic one. That is Fruit Baskets. There was the original one, which I believe was back in the 90s. It is basically a story of this girl who loses her home, her family, and all that. And she starts to live out in the forest in a tent. And she basically stumbles upon this house that's full of a couple students she knows, and mostly male characters. And you come to find out they're all members of the Zodiac. When they get hugged or embraced by the opposite sex, they will turn into the animal of their zodiac signs. This is a remake that's supposed to be closer to the manga. I know that the anime back then went on a different route because the manga wasn't completed, so I am fairly interested in knowing how this turns out. I didn't watch it originally because back then I was a guy, I was a teenager, and I couldn't get into that romantic sappy shit. Now that I've grown up and I've seen a few romantic animes that I've enjoyed, I'm going to give this one a shot. Next one I'm going to watch purely because I know it is going to be a comedy one. It is the Isekai Quartets. You have characters from 4 different isekais all interacting, and the animation that it looks like that it's shown looks like it's going to be chibi kind of characters, so we already know this is going to be silly. The 4 animes that you get are Overlord, Konosuba, The Saga of Tanya the Evil, and ReZero. Now, I've seen 3 of these isekais. ReZero is the only one I have not watched. I know, a lot of people say I should, but I haven't gotten around to it, and also because it was so hyped up that when it comes to hyped animes, I kind of stay back. But if this is anything like some of the other crossover animes I've seen in the past that did them for comedy reasons, I will probably enjoy this and I'll probably get a laugh out of it. The next one is one I know a lot of people are hyped to see. That is One Punch Man Season 2. Now, when this series first came out, I actually ignored it because the whole story of a man who's so powerful he defeats people in one punch, I was like, okay, I do not need another Goku story for the life of me. So I skipped this, but I eventually watched it and I laughed my butt off and I started reading the manga. So I actually know where this is going to be, what storyline it's going to be, and I cannot wait to watch it, especially since we all know Saitama is so going to be his dorky self. And that alone is going to make me watch it. Now, the last one. This is the one I did not know they were going to make into an anime, but once I found out, I literally started jumping for joy because I have read this since the beginning. This is one of the most wholesome mangas I have read because it is such a simple concept that I cannot believe that it's going to be an anime, and I'm going to love it, and I know I am. It is called Seiwa Yikai Ketsun no Senko Kasa. The whole story about this is you're following the everyday life of a salaryman known as Nakano. When he comes home, he eventually gets a new roommate, to say. You get a kitsune. A kitsune, when you look it up, is a a paranormal fox deity that can take on a human form. You see a lot of them pictured as shrine carers or spiritual deities of shrines. And in this story, you get one named Sanako-san, who is 800 years old, and she decides to take care of this man in his everyday life. Basically, kind of like a wife. She cooks for him, she cleans, she takes care of him. Basically, she is healing his tired body because he's one of those overworked characters. Now, at first, he kind of resists it, but after a while, he basically accepts it, and it is just a wholesome thing. And the thing that makes me laugh the most in this manga is he likes to fluff her tail. And now, don't think of that in a perverted way. He finds her tail comfortable to where he just likes to rub up against it and run his hands through the tail hairs. And at first she's a little, concerned about it, but he doesn't mean anything perverted, and she realizes he's happy with it. It is just adorably cute the way he acts and she acts together. So this is the #1 anime I will be watching next season no matter what. Now, folks, there's a lot more anime to the next season, but I didn't talk about them. They really didn't catch my eye, so I neither wanted to watch them or throw them in a dumpster fire, so they just really didn't work for me, so I just didn't talk about them. If you want to go check them out, I'm going to leave a link in the description below. That is where I get my list of anime for this upcoming seasons. Let me know if there's any on there that you want me to talk about or that you want me to check out. I will check them out if you want me to. Anyways, I'm the Noob. That's my list for the next season, and I'll catch y'all next time. See ya!